Welcome to Click, Cry, Repeat. This isn't another marketing podcast. It's a podcast about the people doing marketing jobs. I'm Peter Craven.
And I'm Ashley Watson. Think of this as your virtual therapy couch. We're going to be talking about the wins, the woes, and the why the hell did I do this moment. Today's guest is Dave Levin.
Hi, hello.
Hello, Dave. How are you?
Wow, this is really professional. I've been out drinking with you two.
You sound surprised.
I wasn't expecting this.
Let's not tell those stories.
I thought, I don't know. I thought I'd walk into a sort of dingy little podcast studio and...
Thanks very much.
You've actually, no reflection on you. But wow, this is really professional. Thanks for having me.
Okay, no
Thanks
problem.
for coming.
We should probably give the furniture people a bit of a shout, shouldn't we,
We
for
should.
that? So.
Yes. So thank you so much to Macaulay Furnishings, who have very kindly kitted us out with our studio set here today. It is very comfortable. How are you over there in the therapy couch?
Yeah, I would like to say hello to Macaulay Furnishings and say I'm very open to any type of deal they want to offer the guests on this podcast, because this is not only very forgiving on the butt cheeks, and it also, I think, aesthetically is perfect and very befitting a premium podcast such as this.
Very good.
Is that enough?
That's perfect, Dave. Yes, perfect. Checks in the post.
It actually is genuinely now very comfortable.
Okay, so let's get kick-started with our Meet the Marketer quick-fire questions. So we've got 4 questions for you.
Okay.
First one is a fashion trend that you hope never comes back.
Oh, wow. Fashion trend I'm going to come back. I was briefly quite into double denim, and then my friends really gave me some grief for going triple denim a couple of times. I used to be in a band, and I thought the sort of triple denim thing might look good. And I looked back the other day, me and a friend of mine were looking at some old stuff, and yeah, it sort of looked like, I don't know, like a human carpet or something. I don't know if that's quite the right description, but it definitely wasn't a good look. So yeah, double or triple denim.
Okay, what is a skill that you don't have, but that you've always wanted to learn?
That's a really great and tough question. I'm really bad at cooking. And I think it's not you're not bad at cooking, you're just not. Basically, I think what I think happened is, because I didn't go to uni, I did an internship instead. This is teasing. We're going to talk about this later. But whilst all my friends went to uni and seemingly became Jamie Oliver, learning, because you're cooking for each other, and I didn't really I missed out on that. And so I still have quite a basic cooking repertoire, which actually works. Where that goes down very well is children. So our kids quite like my, cheese on chips or whatever I make. But I wish, because I'm really into food and I'm really into nice food, but yeah, I wouldn't be much of a chef myself.
Okay. The first gig you went to with your own money?
Oh, well, I had a better answer until you said my own money.
No, give us the other one then.
Actually, it might be problematic now, I think, but it's a bigger answer. First gig I ever went to was I was taken by my Auntie Fran. Shout out Auntie Fran if you're watching. I'm sure watching or listening. I'm sure you will be. Who took me to Michael Jackson at Roundhay Park in Leeds. And I mean, let's probably not get into a conversation about Michael Jackson, but in terms of a huge first gig, it was amazing. And at the end, it was in the tour when he finished by flying over the crowd. He put a rocket pack on and flew over the crowd. It turns out it was a stuntman, obviously. But at the time, as I think I was like 10 or 11, it completely blew my mind. And yeah, it just made me get really excited about not just music, but also just the theatrics around music and everything else. With my own money, I think it was probably, it might have been Rage Against the Machine.
That's a good one too.
Me and my mate Socko, yeah. And I used to have dreads when I was sort of about 14, 15, and we told people in the audience that I was Zach De La Rocha's nephew, so they let us go to the front like that. Yeah. I was very much yours. There you go.
Very good.
I love it. Okay, what is the one chore that you would pay someone else to do for the rest of your life?
The one chore.
Yeah.
I am the world's worst putting on a duvet cover on a duvet person. And maybe, I mean, this is probably I'm sure I'm not alone, but there is something in my brain. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter. And like, yeah, my other half would think I'm just deliberately trying to. There's a phrase that she uses about sort of that where you try hard not to do something, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. So if I would never have to do that again for the rest of my life, I would be happy. There's probably something better, but I'll keep thinking of it. What's yours?
It's emptying the top row of the dishwasher, because everything goes in a different cupboard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Depends. Now, we had this conversation yesterday. Ash has obviously got a higher end dishwasher than I have. But
I've got a 3-tier dishwasher. Little top drawers for your cutlery.
Wow, that's very fancy.
Yeah.
So
That's me. Very
cards.
fancy indeed.
Do your sponsors also sell dishwashers? Is this part of where you're trying to enter the...
Okay, on that note, you mentioned MTV and highlighted your T-shirt earlier, so that's what we wanted to talk to you about. Given the news over the last couple of months that MTV was no longer to be music television, and the idea came and I saw you put up a post on LinkedIn afterwards about the fact that you had interned in MTV.
Yeah.
So tell us how that opportunity even comes about.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I did my finished at school, wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I took a year out, sort of volunteered, worked at like a radio station in Leeds, student radio station, and then still wasn't really sure. I did all right. I had all right grades, but wasn't sure where I wanted to go. So kind of worked around Leeds for a bit, thinking of what to do. Eventually found a course I was going to go to, a place called Goldsmiths College, doing broadcast journalism. I was really excited. And then a few months before going there, went to a party in Leeds, met a girl who was an intern at MTV, and she was saying it's like the best thing she's ever done, how much fun it was, and the parties they go to and everything else. And she was saying, actually, they're looking for new interns at the moment. You should apply. And I thought, that sounds wild, but I just she seemed like she was having a lot of fun. So I applied. Got an interview, went down on the train to London. It felt so, I was 19 and, just from a very normal, family in Leeds, but going to London was quite a big deal. And it just went down there, felt like it was really exciting. Had an interview, came back, got called for a second interview, went down a second time, and then ended up getting the internship. So cancelled my place at uni, or deferred it, saying, well, I'll do the internship and then come see you after. And then whilst I was an intern there, ended up getting a job as a junior news writer, and so didn't go to uni. So consequently, because I didn't have much money back then, and my parents didn't have that much money to because the internship didn't pay very much, the bank had already given me my student loan. So I'm the only person I've ever been aware of who had a student loan without actually ever being a student, because I never went to university in the end. So, and then they even let me refinance my loan. Shout out to Lloyd's Bank, who, when I wanted to go on holiday with people from MTV, a holiday that I couldn't afford to the Caribbean, they let me add more to my student loan. So I actually had 2 student loans without having ever been a student. And then when that thing came out a few years later, where there was the whole kind of slight scandal of things that banks shouldn't have let you have and all this sort of stuff, I fit into that bracket. And so they actually sort of refunded me some of it for giving me an overdraft that I was stupid enough to ask for. So yeah, I don't think Lloyd's Bank are going to be one of your sponsors, but yeah, shout out to Lloyd's Bank.
No. And what sort of work was it you started doing then whenever you joined MTV?
So I started out, it was mainly just making tea for the artists that were coming into the shows. So it was, and sort of helping around their schedule, telling what they're going to be doing, making sure they turn up to the right interview at the right time. So it was in a department called Talent and Music, and they were amazing people. And yeah, so they were the people that sort of booked all the different bands to come in and perform, come in and play, come in and do interviews. And yeah, I was just the person that would kind of get them their food and drink, tell them what they were going to be doing for the rest of the day, hang out with them in the dressing room, help them through the sort of crowds of screaming fans, because it was mainly just sort of big pop stars and pop acts of that time, sort of real brilliant, some of the most important artists of our generation, like S Club 7 and Shaggy and people like that. I'll send you some, yeah. But yeah, no, it was.
Who was the nicest famous person you met?
Ooh, do you know what? Most of them were really, really nice. Now that I've mentioned him because it's fresh in my head, Shaggy was really nice, and I was quite a big fan, and he was nice. Always really got on well with Westlife, not just saying it from, you know, because they're Irish. I remember one of Westlife was kind of, whilst they were getting like absolutely mobbed by fans outside, and that was great. And one of them just sort of like whispered to me, you know, like, "Oh, I should have been a bin man or something." You know, he's really like, they were all like quite funny, and he let me. I really liked the trousers they were wearing for one particular photo shoot, and he let me keep his trousers. Back then we were about the same size, and now I'm not sure we are. But yeah, no, Westlife were very nice.
So, and then following on, then how did you sort of create or manufacture the opportunity that led to you then writing the news segment?
So that is a good question actually, because I mean, well, it's a couple of things I'll talk about. One, internships in general, I couldn't be I'm a huge fan of,
yeah.
Particularly because, I mean, not just because of how my own one, we've then later on, I've hired lots of interns and worked with interns, but I just think an internship is such an opportunity. I think they sometimes get a bit of a bad reputation because there's the dark side, I suppose, of internships where companies exploit people for little or no money and don't give them much of an opportunity. That definitely is a thing, and I'm not pretending it's not. But in my case, it couldn't have been more opposite than that. I was surrounded by absolutely brilliant people who couldn't have been lovelier and were making sure I was learning and developing, and you know, whenever we'd always be out for drinks, and know that people would be always, like, never let you know, because you're not earning very much as an intern. They'd never be letting you know, buy a drink or anything. But aside, it was mainly just the fact that I was given the opportunity to learn from all these people. And one of the people that I worked with there that was brilliant was someone called Mookie, who I remember there was loads of people. There was people in MTV News, but they were looking for kind of new people to start writing in the news team and in the sort of newly formed like digital team, because it was quite new then, writing for the website and writing for the app and stuff. And yeah, she was just one of the people that helped me kind of, like, when I saw that opportunity was there. You know, like putting a CV together, I didn't really know what was supposed to go on a CV. I'd only really had jobs and, like, you know, delivering papers and, like, you know, my Yorkshire pudding factory in Leeds, and, you know, and she also was really good at, then people in the talent music team. My boss was a guy called Jamie, and one of the big bosses was someone called Fleur, and they were always really good at making sure I was doing stuff that was going to help after my internship. One thing was, I was always taking sort of Polaroids with the artists when they came in, and then writing like little things. There was like an internal magazine there, and I was writing just little bits of nonsense, like, "Hey, here's what I did with S Club today. Here's what I did with whoever it was. Take that." Writing little captions, and that then helped when I came to apply for jobs after about writing. So yeah, okay. So I think I'm waffling on.
No, you're not. You're not. Jack has just been instructed to keep us on time.
That's good. And yeah, I feel like I've done an hour on that one question.
And it fits quite nicely, actually, with what we're talking about now in the recruitment segment. Yeah,
segues nicely into, if you're saying that you have hired interns in the past as well. What is the one question or thing that you would bring to the interview process so that you could really get to know the person?
That is a good one. Yeah. See, I was thinking when I was thinking about this, like, I really don't like marketing jargon. Oh, well, actually, I do like it because it makes it, you can write funny stuff about it. But I'd maybe ask someone, how many of the following phrases would you ever use in a meeting or publicly, you know, about like low hanging fruit or circling back or taking something offline. And if they knew more than 3 of them, then I probably wouldn't hire them, because I don't think you can, like, handle people that constantly spew out marketing jargon.
Are you not thrilled and delighted on LinkedIn then a lot of the time?
I'm constantly thrilled and delighted on LinkedIn. I just try and find a different way to phrase it. But no, it's a good question. Someone probably the best interview question I've been given was when I went for a job at Radio 1, and they asked me if a famous actor was going to play you in a film, a biopic about your life, who would it be? And that really sort of put me on the spot, but it was good. It made me think, and I sort of surprised myself. I'm not sure in a good or bad way with my answer, which I was saying, I'd probably be played by two actors who could play different parts of my sort of life or different periods. Or it could be Will Smith, which was kind of how I sort of viewed myself as like really cool and like, yeah, really, you know, he would play. I mean, this was pre the time having his meltdown on stage. But then probably the more accurate reflection, I'd have Danny DeVito or someone like that, just kind of waddling around. But yeah, I don't know. I think a good creative question, you can learn a lot about someone from.
Yeah, you definitely can. Okay, going on with the conversation, keen to know, I mean, there's not many people that we've spoken to on this who would have had the opportunity to work with famous people. Tell us a little bit about what you learned about working with famous people during that internship.
I learned a few things. I think one thing that always comes to mind when you see examples of it is like people who got famous really young. I feel like, of course it's exciting because they can have all the wonderful objects that they want and everyone's screaming at them, but it did send a lot of them quite mad, you know, and I met some of the really big ones. I remember Christina Aguilera at her absolute height. I remember talking to her, walking along, telling her what was going to be happening that day, and as we were talking, her bouncer, who traveled with her everywhere, as we came to the stairs, just picked her up, and we were still talking, and carried her downstairs because her record label wouldn't let her do stairs because she was always wearing these big heels and it was too risky that she would fall over. This is honest truth. And so she carried on the conversation, but whilst aloft in the air. And I was like, that's not a normal thing. And I remember, like other people, there's something I think about that link between that you'd often see in pop stars and girl bands, and remember one of the Spice Girls who before I had to bring them food, but before the food got to them, it had to be inspected by like a dietitian and stuff because it was all. And you think stuff that you hear about that you think is nonsense, but it's true. It's kind of they were so scrutinised in so many different ways that it sent them a bit bonkers. But I mean, most of them were like pretty nice. Sometimes because people ask like, were anyone the only one that I don't know if you remember. There was the people. Remember, "Come On Barbie, Let's Go Party" was by, I believe it was Aqua, who you would think as a band who, I know I'm pretending not to know, but considering how dreadful their music was and how funny it was, you would think they would be the most chill. They were more diva-like than Britney, or more like they were just And one of them unironically had that song as a ringtone, and it went off. And me and one of the other people from MTV started laughing, and he got really annoyed that we were laughing. But no. Apart from that, everyone was good. But I think the main takeaway was fame too young sends you a bit mad.
I used to work with a guy called Tom Jones, and it wasn't the Tom Jones.
Unusual.
But, he had that as his ringtone.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember the first time sitting in a sales meeting with him and his phone went off. Everybody was just like, no, we're not having that.
I've got a story about Tom Jones. It's on the edge of whether it's appropriate, and because you can't cut things out, I'm going to have to be careful.
We can cut things out.
Okay.
I would rather be looking at it than looking for it.
I did a few series of The Voice, and when Sir Tom was one of the coaches, and something that really blew my mind, and a couple of us that worked on the show used to always laugh about it, is that how, and this is where I'm being careful about how I say it, he, I think, is quite famously generously endowed, and he has on his team someone who used to run a suit shop in Savile Row where he buys his favourite suits, who now just travels around with him making sure he's always looking immaculate. But part of this guy's job, Peter, I remember his name, I don't think it was you, whilst you're talking to him, a bit like the Christina Aguilera thing, it catches you off guard. We were shooting something with him, like trying to get him to do a video for Instagram or something, and this guy sort of just, because he wears very tight trousers, but just kind of sort of moves his trousers around and kind of maneuvers him around a little bit to make sure that nothing is sort of too, yeah. I mean, but there's in the background, there are people heaving with this story, so I'm going to stop, but it is true.
How do you talk about that on LinkedIn?
I know.
You don't, and I'm not sure I should be talking about it on podcasts either. But, I mean, really, all I'm telling you is that he's, yeah.
You should take it as a compliment, really.
Yeah, you're right, but, yeah.
In terms of, like, so you are a creative writer. How do you think, like, creative writing and AI, and you know, like, we know you can spot an AI generated piece of copy anywhere, but what impact do you think that's going to have on the creative industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge question, and it's a real tricky one because LinkedIn is quite a good place for this because I'm sort of surrounded by, I follow a lot of my favorite writers on there, many of whom spend a lot of time now, like so many writers are quite rightly fearful that AI is just sort of, is taking a lot of writing jobs and is, threatening to remove writers and everything else. That isn't, as yet, that's not happening because it's, like you say, still most AI copy is fairly obvious to spot, but it is improving. And also, I'd be lying if I said, and I don't know if this is the case with some of the other writers I follow, but I definitely, ChatGPT is helpful to me as a writer in terms of the way I use it is kind of not, I don't ask it to write stuff for me. It's more when I'm writing something, I have a draft and I want it to see if there's areas where it can either tweak things, or if I'm looking for ideas for when I'm, for something to bounce off, it's really useful. So it's quite an interesting thing to be. It's a useful tool, but it is scary. And hearing about things that are going to be coming and then, how it's going to improve in coming years, it's hard to know. I think my guess would be that similar to kind of, conversations about when the internet started being a thing, and I'm a bit too young I'm not that old, but I do remember the early days of the internet, and I remember a lot of the fear that was there around that. I would imagine it will help lots of people in lots of ways, and it will disrupt and threaten things in lots of ways, but it's a bit too big of a question to answer. It's somehow both terrifying and terrifyingly helpful at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's your stuff on LinkedIn, I've obviously heard you speak and spoken at events and then spoken to you, at just casually as well. And when you write, it's obviously you. And I think the clash comes whenever there's somebody socially or professionally, and then you read something that you think, you just know instantly, like that, you did not write that. Like,
it's tricky, isn't it though? Because I suppose they now have this tool that can help them. Yeah, right.
So, I agree. In video, it's incredibly helpful for whenever you're starting with video scripts, or when you're looking to develop a few ideas out, or creates a few different options of things. It's really, really useful, and we do that as well. But I think you always have to try and bring it back to it's a tool that can help you find the voice that you want.
Definitely.
But not just let it be the voice.
100%. And also, the first time recently I was exposed to it getting something wrong, and it shouldn't be that surprising. Of course it's going to get things wrong. But because I run the social media now for a famous sports person, and I was like planning something, I'd written something, I was planning for something for if he won, and I wanted to check about a stat around how many times he'd won that tournament before, and it gave me the answer, which I was going to put in a caption, and luckily I thought I'd better double check it because it was really important, and it was 1 out, it was wrong, and it would have been terrible. Luckily it would have been seen by the sportsman but it still would have been really embarrassing to send that. And I think it is worth remembering. It's really helpful in loads of ways, but it's certainly not perfect, and I've heard some other examples of people relying on it too much in that way. Yeah.
And what would you say to someone? Your social content from your experience on Twitter right through to now, keeping people engaged is really hard to do on those social channels, but good writing can still do it. People talk about it has to be video, or you have to have images, good writing can still do it if it's done really well. The problem is it's not done very well an awful lot of the time. What advice would you give to people who are trying trying to develop those sort of copywriting skills and how to communicate that, and how they can find their individual voice, I suppose, and in a way that is going to engage and entertain people?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So the thing that helped me, I mean, I'd been a writer by the time I got to MTV. I was already I'd always been into writing. I think my mum's proudest moment was when I won I think it was the under sevens Leeds poetry champion thing with this poem that I'd written about my mum. And no, I was always into writing, but the thing that got me into sort of learning about writing for social and writing for the internet was setting up a Twitter account for my local pub in London for a joke. We haven't got enough time. I won't tell the full story about why, but the short thing is I sort of just did it for a joke, and then it got quite popular, and I kind of just kept it going and used it as a way to learn about social copywriting and jumping on trends and stuff. But what I think was really useful about it, that I would recommend to anyone, is writing on an account that wasn't your own. Because there's something about writing on your own social media that is scary for anyone. And even doesn't really matter whether you've got 10 followers or 10 million followers. You being out there speaking as yourself has a different feel to it for if you're writing for something else. So I would recommend, if you're into writing but you're sort of a bit scared to post to yourself, just set up an account. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter whether you get followers or not, just as a way to get into the sort of routine of it and the practice of it. And I think by running this account, it was a pub called the Dolphin. I was just doing it every day. I was trying stuff out, learning what worked. And I could do it without anyone knowing really who I was. So that was really, really good. I would say do that. And then just a couple of general tips in terms of writing. One is keeping it really short. So I used to sort of have the idea, if you're writing, you should write lots of things. Really, with social media, you want to keep it as short, as punchy as possible. So practice writing short, punchy things. And then little things like the rule of three. Like I'm really into Will.i.am, who worked on The Voice. He was the one that really opened my eyes up to that. He talked to us all about things that are written in rules of three attached to the human brain much better than things that are other numbers. So, for example, loads of the most famous slogans in advertising, politics, yes we can, just do it. A lot of them are three words or three words. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, they would be my tips.
Okay, very good. Very good. That's excellent. Shall we find out what's in the box?
I think we need to find out what's in this box.
Oh, okay.
It's that time.
How does this work?
It's that time. You take the box off the shelf and do the big reveal for us.
Yeah, I'm slightly worried now that the big reveal, I wish it was something that was going to be visually more exciting. But hey, look, inside the box, it is a small black book. But for context, we were talking about Twitter. This is the perfect time. So this is before Twitter was X, Twitter was Twitter. To us, to the OGs. But yeah, the people at Twitter were very kind about this pub account that I was talking about, and they brought out this one of the sort of first books I think they did. Discover Twitter. There was 350 suggestions of who to follow, and this went out to all the like brands and influencers and stuff like that. And my little pub account was one of the accounts in there. I should have it ready to go. I will find it. Hold on, hold the line. I'm in between. I think I'm in between like Liam Gallagher. It was a little pub in London, but I suppose luckily, because it was back when most brands and businesses on Twitter was so boring and so dull, that by doing just like average jokes about Jaeger bombs and R&B stars, it meant that I sort of stood out a little bit. So yeah, they included me in this. I'm now trying to talk slowly so I can get to the point. Well, yeah, it's like loads. So we had people like so Rihanna. You might have heard of her. She's there, yeah. No, then like there's some really good accounts, like sort of the obviously loads of comedians, Stephen Fry, and then some tribute accounts to like old like funny accounts that people did like behalf of, as like magazines that are in there. Someone pretending to be the Queen, Gary Lineker.
There's a guy, I used to follow the God account, which I thought was very good on Twitter.
Tribute account.
And God used to get quite angry at people sometimes.
He was a bit cross.
Starting to doubt now. I'm pretty sure I was in here before.
Did you dream this?
Yeah, and I think, that's it. It would be a terrible time to find out that it was actually a different pub. But anyway, by the end of this podcast, I'll get to my page. But it was sort of a proud moment. So I brought it in terms of that because I knew we were going to be talking about like Twitter, but also because like it feels like because it's become such a different platform now.
In time, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's like I really miss the sort of the great days of Twitter. So yeah, I thought I'd bring it as a throwback to that. And
I like that they sent out a book on who to follow.
Yeah.
Like,
That's good.
I found it. There I am, sandwiched between Nick Grimshaw, the Six Music or then Radio 1 presenter, and the Queen. There's my little pub account.
Not bad company.
But yeah, no, I just thought because I absolutely loved Twitter, and it changed my life, like in terms of because that pub account led to me tweeting for other brands, and then led to me starting a social media agency. And yeah, I just saw it in my room when I was thinking of what to bring, and thought, it was good times.
thank you.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's great. Thanks very much, Dave. That brings us to a close.
Oh, is that the end of it?
That's the end of it. Yeah.
Talk all day.
You talk all day.
Well, thanks for.
We probably
having
will.
me.
We'll just say goodbye to people here and we'll carry on. But
Yeah, don't tell Jack.
don't tell Jack. Jack's losing his mind over there because we're a little bit over. So thanks very much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the chat with Dave and we'll see you next time.